What would you do if you walked into a room and saw the person you love most being torn down, judged, dismissed, and humiliated, all because they didn't look the part? What if you had the power to flip the script, to turn every smug smirk into a dropped jaw, and show the world just how wrong they'd been? Imagine this. A quiet woman steps onto a plane, clutching a first-class ticket, only to be stopped cold by a crew who can't see past her simple dress. Now picture her husband, a man who owns the airline, walking through that door, ready to set the whole damn cabin straight. Curious yet? Stick around, because this story's got twists you won't see coming and a lesson that'll hit you right in the gut. Before we dive in, hit that like button if you're ready for some justice served with a side of champagne, and smash subscribe. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's next. Let's get into it. I never pictured it spiraling into this kind of chaos. Not in 1,000 years. When I told Anna, my wife, my compass, the woman who's been my anchor through every storm, to take that horizon skies flight and let herself bask in a little luxury, all I wanted was to give her a moment of peace. She'd earned it, more than anyone I know. For weeks, she'd been hauling herself out of bed before the sun peaked over our Chicago brownstone, pouring her heart into her latest charity gala for kids who'd never had a fair shot. For months, she'd sat up late, her silhouette framed by the glow of a desk lamp, crunching numbers to stretch every dollar for the foundation she'd built from nothing. I wanted her to sink into a first-class seat, sip some overpriced champagne, and let the world treat her like the royalty she is, something she'd never asked for herself. Too humble, too grounded. Instead, I stepped onto that plane and saw her, the toughest soul I've ever met, standing there like she'd wandered into a lion's den, surrounded by cold, judgmental stares and words that cut like knives. Rage roared up in me, a wildfire in my chest, but I tamped it down. I've spent years in boardrooms, facing down tycoons and sealing billion-dollar deals. I've learned power isn't in the shouting. It's in the silence, the slow burn before you let it rip. It was March 19th, 2025, a day etched into my bones. I've been trapped at Horizon Sky's headquarters in Chicago, wading through a crisis that could have sunk us. A supplier had delivered a batch of defective engines, junk parts that threatened to ground half our spring flights. And as the majority shareholder, I had to be there, rolling up my sleeves, barking orders at a room full of suits. My tie hung loose, my coffee had gone cold, and my mind kept drifting to Anna. I'd book her a first-class ticket from Chicago to Miami, a small gift before our 10th anniversary trip. "You deserve the world, babe," I told her that morning, brushing a kiss across her forehead as she gave me that quiet, soul-deep smile I've loved since the day we met. 12 years ago, she was a flight attendant with a spark in her eyes and a heart so wide it could have swallowed the horizon whole. I had no clue her flight was about to turn into a damn war zone. The meeting wrapped early, thank God for small mercies, and I decided to jet down to Miami and surprise her. I called the crew, told them to hold the plane. It's not a card I play often, but when you own most of the airline, people jump. My plan was pure sap. Walk into first class with a bouquet of white roses, her favorite, the ones I proposed with, and watch her light up like she did that day in the rain outside her old apartment. But when I crossed that aircraft door, flowers gripped tight, the scene in front of me hit me like a brick to the chest. There she was, my Anna, stranded in the middle of the first-class aisle. Her shoulders sagged just a fraction, but her chin stayed high, clinging to her pride like a lifeline in a storm. Facing her was the head flight attendant, Rachel Hayes. I'd find out later. Blonde hair yanked back in a bun so tight it looked like it hurt. Her voice sharp enough to slice through steel. "I'm afraid there's been a mix-up, ma'am," Rachel said, loud enough for the whole cabin to hear, her tone dripping with disdain. "This section's for first-class passengers only." She held Anna's boarding pass like it was a crumpled napkin, flipping it over with those blood-red nails, her lips twisting into a smirk she didn't even try to mask. My blood turned to lava. Anna, my Anna, who'd once been the brightest star Horizon Skies ever had, who'd saved a passenger's life mid-flight by spotting his heart attack before he even felt the pain, was being treated like she'd snuck in from the cargo hold. I scanned the cabin, taking it all in. The first-class crowd gawked at her, like she was a sideshow act. A businessman in a pinstripe suit glanced up from his Wall Street Journal, his gold cufflinks glinting as he let out a smug little snort. A woman with a pearl choker the size of a golf ball clucked her tongue in fake pity, her diamond earrings catching the light. A younger couple in matching Gucci tracksuits whispered behind their hands, their eyes darting between Anna's simple navy dress and her scuffed flats. I knew what they were thinking. She didn't belong. They didn't see the slim silver watch on her wrist, the one I gave her the day we met, worth more than their whole damn wardrobe combined. They didn't see her. I sucked in a long, slow breath, my fingers digging into the rose stems until they bit into my skin, and stepped forward. My polished leather shoes hit the floor with a deliberate thud, each step a warning, a promise. The cabin went dead quiet, the air thick with tension, as every head swiveled from Anna to me. I'm 6 feet 2 inches, broad across the shoulders, and in my black Brioni suit, tailored to fit like a second skin. I know I don't blend in. But today, it wasn't my size or my money that froze them. It was the way I carried myself, like a man who'd clawed his way up from a South Side tenement to an empire and wasn't about to let anyone touch what mattered most. "Everything okay, Anna?" My voice came out low, steady, but it rolled through the silence like a gathering storm. I caught the quick, panicked glance between Rachel and the cabin manager, a sweaty guy with wire-rimmed glasses who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. They didn't know who I was, not yet, and I let that hang there, relishing the weight of it. "Sir," the manager stammered, his Adam's apple bobbing like a cork. "We're just clearing up a minor seating issue." He flashed a weak, desperate smile, like that had smoothed me over. But I didn't look at him. My eyes were locked on Anna. She met my gaze, her warm brown eyes flickering with surprise before settling back into that quiet strength I've always adored. I knew she didn't want me wading in. She's never been one to lean on anyone, but this wasn't about her needing me. This was about them crossing a line I'd never let stand. "That's my wife's seat, right?" "2A," I said, letting a trace of my Italian roots slip in, smooth as silk, hard as iron. I moved to her side, resting my hand on the small of her back, feeling the faint tremble she was fighting to hide. Rachel's mouth flopped open, then shut, then opened again. "Your wife?" she croaked, her face draining of color like water from a cracked glass. "Yeah," I said, my stare shifting from her to the manager, pinning them both like bugs on a board. "Anna Moretti, my wife. So tell me, why is there a problem with her seat?" The anger was a live wire now, crackling under my skin, but I kept it caged. I wanted them to squirm, to bury themselves deeper with every word. Rachel tried to rally, her voice wobbling like a bad radio signal. "Mr. Moretti, we didn't realize. We were just verifying," she faltered, her excuse crumbling mid-sentence. The manager clutched his clipboard like a shield, jumping in. "It's standard protocol, sir. We can't let just anyone sit in first class without proper checks." "Just anyone," I repeated, tilting my head slow, letting the words sink like anchors. They hung there, heavy and damning, and I took a step closer. Both of them flinched like I'd swung a fist. "You mean you took one look at my wife, her dress, her shoes, and decided she didn't belong? That..." The cabin was a tomb. I heard a sharp gasp from a woman in the back, but no one else dared breathe. I turned to Anna, saw the flush creeping up her cheeks, the shame she was battling to shove down. But her eyes, those eyes, stayed rock solid, unbowed. She didn't need me to fight her battles. She never has. But I walked through hell before I let anyone make her feel small. "Let me tell you something," I said, my voice dropping to a cold, cutting edge. "Before we got married, Anna was the youngest head flight attendant Horizon Skies ever had. She was 26, running the whole damn show, and one day, she saved a guy's life at 30,000 feet, caught his heart attack while the rest of the crew was pouring coffee. She knows more about service, about dignity, than anyone on this plane." I locked eyes with Rachel, watched sweat bead on her perfectly powdered forehead. "More than you'll ever hope to." I thought about that day, the one she never talks about, but I'll never forget. She'd been working a red eye from LA to New York, just another shift in a string of long nights. A guy in 3B started looking off, pale, sweaty, fidgeting. The other attendants brushed it off, but Anna didn't. She knelt by his seat, asked him quiet questions, checked his pulse with a steady hand. By the time the plane landed, paramedics were waiting, and that guy was alive because of her. Horizon gave her a commendation, framed it in the break room at headquarters. I'd seen it there, gathering dust, and it hit me now. No one on this crew even knew her name. I yanked my phone from my pocket, my thumbs stabbing the screen with quick, angry swipes. I just sent an email to the board, I said, not breaking my stare. Starting tomorrow, every employee at Horizon Skies is getting anti-discrimination training. Mandatory. You, Ms. Hayes, you're first on the list. Rachel's hands twisted together, her knuckles bleaching white. I swung my gaze to the manager. And you? I've been mulling over a new director of customer experience role. After what I've seen today, I'd say my wife's more than qualified. She's lived it from both sides now. What do you think? He nodded like a puppet, his mouth sealed shut. Then I turned to the passengers, raising my voice just enough to carry. Folks, I'm sorry for the holdup. To make it right, champagne's on the house for the rest of the flight. I leaned in close to Rachel, my tone dropping to a whisper that still sliced through the hush. Take care of my wife. Your next paycheck's riding on it. We took our seats. Anna and me right beside her, the roses tucked between us. She gave me that little half-smile I've loved for years, the one that says she's amused even when she's trying not to be. You always turn everything into a damn movie, she said, her voice soft but teasing. I laughed low, lacing my fingers through hers. Only when they mess with you, babe. As the plane taxied down the runway, I couldn't shake the image of her standing there, taking their crap with her head high. I thought about where I'd come from, Southside Chicago, a kid with holes in his shoes and a chip on his shoulder bigger than the Sears Tower. I'd scrapped and clawed my way up, turned Horizon Skies from a failing regional outfit into a powerhouse, all because I lived to prove people wrong. Anna was the same, in her way. She'd started as a flight attendant fresh out of community college. No trust fund, no fancy degree, just grit and a smile that could melt steel. We'd met on one of my first big flights, me a cocky 30-something in a cheap suit, her serving coffee with a grace that stopped me cold. She didn't care about my money then, and she doesn't now. That's why seeing her judged by her clothes, her quiet way, hit me like a freight train. It wasn't just about her. It was about us, about every time someone's looked at me and seen a punk from the wrong side of town. Later that night, we were at our resort in Miami, sprawled on the balcony of our suite. The sun was dipping low, turning the ocean into a sheet of molten gold. Anna leaned her head on my shoulder, her hair brushing my cheek, and I felt that deep, steady peace she's always brought me. I didn't need you to do all that, she murmured, her fingers tracing the edge of my sleeve. I just wanted them to see me for me. I know, I said, pressing a kiss in her hair, breathing her in. But sometimes I need them to see how wrong they are about you. How wrong they've always been. I thought back to that first flight we shared 12 years ago. I was flying to New York, chasing a deal that'd make or break me. A scrappy kid from the South Side trying to play in the big leagues. She was the flight attendant who didn't flinch at my brash attitude, just brought me coffee and asked how my day was, like I was any other guy. I'd spilled half the cup on my tie, fumbling like a fool, and she'd laughed. Not at me, but with me, handing me a napkin with a wink that hit me like a lightning bolt. By the end of that flight, I knew I'd marry her someday. Took me 6 months to convince her I wasn't just some slick-talking jerk. Took her a year to say yes, standing in the rain outside her tiny walk-up, me on one knee with those white roses, her laughing through tears as she pulled me up to kiss me. Every day since, she's been the one thing I'd burn it all down for. I remember the early years, too, before the money, before the suits. We'd lived in a cramped apartment off Lakeshore Drive, her working double shifts, me hustling to get my first company off the ground. She'd come home exhausted, feet aching, and still sit with me at our rickety kitchen table, listening to my wild plans, telling me I could do it. She believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. And when Horizon Skies started taking off, when the late nights paid off and the checks got bigger, she never changed. Never cared about the penthouse or the private jets. She kept wearing that same navy dress, kept fighting for the kids she'd promised to help. That's who she is, the woman who sees people, not labels, who gives everything and asks for nothing. This isn't just our story. It's about how we size people up by their clothes, their vibe, and miss the real stuff underneath. Ever been judged like that? Watch someone get written off because they didn't look the part. I've been there, Southside kid in a room full of Ivy League suits, every handshake a test. I've seen it happen to Anna, over and over. Passengers sneering at her back in the day, donors at her galas assuming she's just arm candy. She spent her life proving herself, to them, to me, to the world, and she shouldn't have to. None of us should. That's why I stepped in, why I flipped the table. Because Anna Moretti isn't just my wife. She's the best of us, the heart of everything I've built, and it's about damn time the world caught up. The lesson learned here, the biggest takeaway from this story, never judge a book by its cover, or a person by their clothes. Anna's quiet strength and Vincent's fierce loyalty remind us that true worth isn't in flashy labels or loud boasts. It's in character, grit, and the way we treat others. It's a wake-up call. The people we overlook might just be the ones who've done more, seen more, and lived more than we could ever guess. Next time you're quick to size someone up, pause, because you never know who's behind that unassuming face. The meaningful message conveyed. This tale hits hard with a simple truth. Dignity isn't tied to wealth or status. It's a birthright. Anna didn't need a designer dress to prove her value, and Vincent didn't need to shout to show his power. Together, they teach us that real respect comes from within, and standing up for what's right can shift the world in an instant. It's about fighting for the underdog, honoring the unseen, and proving that love and integrity outweigh any boarding pass or bank account. This is a story that says, we're all more than what meets the eye. Personal perspective from a story. From where I stand, this story's a gut punch and a triumph all at once. I've been the kid from the wrong side of town, judged by my scuffed shoes, and I've seen the Annas of the world, quiet heroes who get dismissed because they don't flaunt their scars or their wins. Vincent's rage? I feel that. Is he to set things right? I get it deep in my bones. To me, this isn't just about one flight. It's about every time we've had to prove ourselves, every moment we've fought to be seen. It's personal, raw, and a damn good reminder that the little guy can still come out on top. Love this ride? Want more stories that hit you square in the heart? Tales of grit, justice, and the kind of twists that keep you hooked? Then follow Story Precious and hit that subscribe button. We're dropping fresh videos all the time, packed with the latest gems to inspire, surprise, and make you think. Don't miss out. Join the crew, turn on notifications, and let's keep the good stuff coming your way. See you in the next one.